Well, you missed it last week. There was sex jitsu. We'll get to that.
Ooh. Now we're on it.
Sex jitsu. The lead-in.
What up, my ninjas? It's Wednesday. It's a new day. If you're wondering why Matt Therapy is now on Wednesdays, it's because motherfuckers be busy and we could not get any guests to come talk to us on Monday, so we had to change to Wednesdays. So, welcome.
It's hump day.
It's hump day.
Hump day.
It's 420. What up to all the stoners? Light one up. Join us for the next hour.
420 hump day.
420 hump
Get blazed
day.
and have sex.
There you go.
Sounds like a good day. Sex jitsu.
I am Donna Gonzalez. We got Bex and Violence, Becky Dominguez. Super producer, Lee Syed on the ones and twos. And for the first time ever, we have a guest. She is the baddest ass that I know. Seriously, do you know you are the marker for what a badass I am? Sometimes I'm like, I'm a badass. And then I think Colleen Schneider exists. I'm a cream puff.
So badass is like a scale of 1 to Colleen Schneider?
Exactly.
Sweet.
Colleen Schneider fighting for the Invicta Championship on May 7th. Welcome!
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us today.
Guest numero uno.
Yeah, you're it. No pressure. But basically, how good people think our show is going to ride on your shoulders. That's all.
That's all right. I have
Happy
strong
420.
shoulders.
But just be
yeah,
yourself.
I would totally 420 if I didn't fight in 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, so there's the test. I was totally going to bring you an alpha brain, but then I'm like, I wonder if that allowed by the rules, and I know you have to do.
I don't know. The whole thing just happened with Leota, where he
Right, so
honestly,
I was like, I'm not
just
bring her anything.
Took something he didn't know was banned because they
so-
just added it to the ban list. So
I thought about that today. I was like, I'm totally gonna bring her alpha brain. No, I'm not.
get popped and it's your fault.
After.
Wait till after, and then we can all come back and visit Uncle Joey for 420.
We'll
Never get another guest again.
We'll redo 420 in a couple weeks for you.
Yeah,
All right.
maybe we'll do it on 520.
520. We're just a little confused.
Yeah. So how are you?
Good. I just finished training. Hopped on
Nice.
the bike, right up here to see you guys.
Gonna go get that belt on May 7th.
Yeah.
So good. So since we're talking about MMA and you're the professional here, what's your opinion on the whole Conor McGregor thing?
So, I don't know. But when I first saw it, I thought, no way. Like, he's just, playing everybody. And then I talked to Josh Burnett about it, and his take was, he's probably has something going on with contract-wise. Like, he's trying to use it for leverage to get more money. Like, it's a way to stall out on your contract, essentially. Sure. And then I listened to a video this morning that Ariel Helwani and Luke Thomas had put out yesterday, which I thought was really interesting because I don't know if you guys know, but a fighter in Ireland died recently, and he was fighting a guy from Conor McGregor's gym, Straight Blast Gym. And Conor was there to see it live. And in Ireland, that was a really... Like, here was kind of just a news flash, but that was a really big thing. They were very, very affected by it, and Conor had put something out talking about how affected he was by it. Then he was supposed to fly this week to come out and do all this press. And so Ariel's take on it was maybe he just wasn't in the kind of mind space to get in and just talk all this smack and play the whole game of MMA that he normally plays so well, right? Because that is kind of putting on this front and acting a certain way. And when you see something
it's a show, absolutely.
That dramatic and it really kind of shakes you to your core. Sure. You might not be ready to go put that front on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and I think it's easy to forget that underneath that front and that performance that he makes is a real human
person
being
with feelings.
that just saw somebody, and he's a superstar over where he's from.
Yeah, like MMA is Conor McGregor in Ireland, right? So
absolutely.
Everyone's associating that with him.
Right. It's an interesting take on it. It is possible that he is using it as a tactic for more money, which there's a very good argument for how much fighters get paid, especially by the biggest promotion in the world, which you don't have to weigh in on because I know you're under contract with certain promotions, but you guys, there certainly should be getting paid more for how much you guys put your body on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And Conor, within the scope of MMA, is getting paid well, but is he getting paid what he deserves for the amount of revenue he brings in? Correct. Absolutely fucking not.
Right.
But but after listening to that, I kind of was like, you know what? I bet it's not a money thing. I tend to think it might be more of like he was like, look, I'm not in the place to go do this, and then the UFC got a little, well, you should do whatever we tell you to, so we're gonna hardball you here, and it sort of escalated from there.
Which is a totally legit. He can't be the notorious one if he's really hurt and having a hard time dealing with somebody. Sure. Dying in this sport that he represents, which is actually, it's a really good question. How do you deal with like whatever self-fuckery or like whatever things get in your head when you know you have to get in the cage and fight for the championship belt or something like that.
I honestly don't think that it would have affected him in terms of the fight, but it's almost doing the media and the press is where he really has to put on that front. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So the fight, during a fight, you can just turn everything off and be like, I'm here in this moment. The only thing that matters is the fight in front of me.
Yeah, I definitely do that, and I think most fighters do that. Like nothing else exists when you're in the cage except for you and that other person.
Right. You guys all definitely look different. Like those of us that have friends who are fighters, you see your friend completely disappear when the you know, like when the fight starts, and they don't exist. Like a different, like your warrior mode sets in and you are not that person. It's cool, but also really nerve-wracking to watch your friends. Like you're just like, oh, my heart can't take this.
It's like your primitive self takes over.
Yeah, but yeah, it's so hard to watch your friends fight.
But I bet you Conor ends up fighting on UFC 200. I bet you that this gets.
Well, did you see what Dana said this morning?
Lee looks like he doesn't agree.
I think he might, and if he does, I think I might just be done with UFC.
Ooh, look at that face!
I'm so
Lee's angry.
If that's the truth, if it's just a scam to get promotion. If it's just
well, that's not a scam.
What if he is actually having like an emotional hard time doing the promotion?
Even if
then
it's
he's the highest paid UFC fighter.
Okay.
I'm sorry that his friend died, and it's terrible. It's obviously a terrible thing to watch anyone die, I'm sure.
So you're saying he should just suck it up? And
But he wasn't saying he wouldn't fight because of what happened. He said he didn't want to come out and do the promotional work this week, and the UFC said if you don't do that, then you can't fight.
Right, and granted, obviously, the UFC isn't the best. Like with the Reebok deal, it's not the greatest, and they've done some other shady things. But unfortunately, when you sign a contract, I guarantee they weren't like, oh, we'll just figure the marketing stuff out later.
For sure.
He's done this before.
It comes along with it.
To me, if it's a marketing ploy or if it's him just not wanting to do it, I really dislike that, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know fighters deserve more money than what they're getting, especially when the big promotions, even outside of the UFC, are making so much money on pay-per-views and gates and all of that stuff that they deserve to get paid. But at a certain point, especially for the highest paid fighter at the biggest fight in their history, it's not like he's going to walk away with $100,000 and $5,000 from Reebok.
But you're making it a money issue, and it's what if it's not a money issue? What if money has nothing to do with it?
Well, if it's his friend, if he watched someone die and he just was like, you know what, I don't want to fight anymore.
No, not even fight. No. Just I'm upset right now. I just want to stay here with my family, with my teammates, and train, and not go to Vegas for a week and
not do the promotion and put on a show for the promotion.
You know what? I feel like if that was it, he could have said, okay, we're going to push it back.
Well, no, but
that's not his choice.
That's not his choice. The UFC has invested a lot of money into this.
Well, and that's kind of my point. I mean, and then if that's the case, if it's not his choice, if they can't move it back at all, you know what? I have to say that he should have done it. If that's the only reason that he just didn't want to do the marketing, because that's his thing. His thing is the tours and coming out there and being
right. But if he can't put that front on right now, then he's going to go out there and kind of let everyone down. And in either way, we don't really know what's going on, right? It's for the UFC and Conor need to be amenable enough to be like, look, let's talk about this. And
did you see what Dana said this morning?
No.
Dana publicly was like, Conor, call me. We can work out UFC 200.
Yeah. Which is absurd to put out publicly, because if you really mean that, you just say it to the individual.
That's why I'm thinking this might be a marketing ploy.
That's what I think. I think this is all marketing. I think the UFC, if it is the whole thing that, about his friend dying and they don't, he doesn't want to do all this stuff right now, I think they'll change things around a little bit, and they're just kind of playing with what they have right now.
He's definitely going to fight again. He's not retired. I do not buy that he's retired.
No.
I don't buy that. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Lee, you look really angry though. Do you feel like you've been cheated as a fan or something? I've never seen you get this amped up about something.
I think if it's a marketing thing, then I definitely think it's cheating, because that's his whole thing is we're here to take over. I'm the king. I'll fight anyone, anywhere, anytime. And then, I mean,
yeah. So now he's fucking with you by saying this.
Yeah, shit happens all the time. Granted, I've never seen anyone die, and it's his sport. His friend did it. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's terrible. But when you sign a contract and your whole thing is I'm the king of the world, I'm the toughest, I'm gonna come back from this, it looks kind of it looks like he's running from Nate Diaz, or it looks bad.
Okay.
To me it doesn't.
But you have to consider, so you sign this contract and it says you have to do whatever promotional things they want you to do, but you're still, like, you're a real person. You're fighting, you're training, you're going through all these things. It's a lot to deal with when you're getting ready for a fight, and when you have to get pulled off to go remove yourself from your training, remove yourself from the environment that you're used to being in, and go just put on this show for a week, that takes a lot out of you as a fighter.
I'm
too.
sure
Like, the UFC is asking, you have to do that at their whim, right? Like, you are beholden to them completely, and if you don't do what they want you to do, then fuck you, goodbye.
Oh, I'm sure that's the case.
Let's say you go and do some kind of promotional thing that Invicta is putting on. Do they provide a place for you guys to train if you're in a camp and they know you have a fight coming up?
The UFC has a gym in Las Vegas, which I'm sure
Okay.
he has access to, and there's plenty of gyms there where he knows people and he could go
Good point.
train. But
Yeah.
it's
Still
you're still
bringing him
leaving
out of-
your
his
camp
element.
and
Traveling
yeah.
is exhausting,
So it's
too.
a
That's
lot
true.
on the fighter to do that.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
terrible. But then here's my thing: you're fighting for the championship. You know, it's not like any of this is a surprise to him. Like, I understand. Like, honestly,
But
that's
we
why I
don't know
think-
what led up to it. I doubt very highly that the first phone call was made yesterday, and then all of a sudden he was like, "I'm not coming," and fuck everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I bet this was a lead up, and then that was whatever the straw that broke the camel's back or whatever. That's what happened. We're only seeing what he did, and then what the aftermath has been from that. But we have no idea how many phone calls and emails and messages to his trainers and things led up to that.
Oh no, absolutely
There's probably
not.
already a resolve to all of this. They're just
Probably.
they're
For sure.
feeding it to us little by little.
I know. There's a they broke the internet, and all of us MMA fans are like, okay, what's next? Give it to me.
It's an interesting gauge of Conor's popularity as a fighter, though, to see how big the reaction
Yeah.
to this has been.
Yeah.
Speaking of popularity of fighters, Benson Henderson has the chance to be the first fighter this weekend to hold a belt at Strikeforce, UFC, and possibly Bellator
And WEC.
and WEC, and nobody seems to be talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
he's an amazing fighter. From all accounts that I've ever heard, I've heard he's a great guy. Nobody's ever had anything bad to say about him, but it seems like he's never been able to break the PR, the fan
Popularity.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
He did for a bit in the UFC. He was kind of riding high. People were screaming his
defended a few
name.
times,
but there's
didn't
He did defend, and
times, yeah.
what I'm saying is he has this amazing record, and again, I've heard he's nothing but a nice guy, but he's never been a popular fighter. Like, why aren't people talking about the fact that he's about to break a record this weekend if he wins the belt? Nobody's talking about it.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
That's actually a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But and also a lot of media outlets just say, MMA is the UFC and
Oh,
don't
I could
cover
totally-
anything
That's
outside
true.
of that.
I could totally see Dana White saying, "You know what, Benson Henderson, you're going to leave the UFC. We're going to have the biggest story in MMA come out the weekend you're fighting." He'll come back.
That's some serious
Did he leave?
level.
Or did he get cut?
Oh, I have no idea.
No, he chose to leave.
Yeah,
He chose to
He
leave.
chose
His
his
contract was up.
contract is up, and he chose to leave.
Alright.
That's what happened.
Alright.
Yeah. Yeah.
I read an
yeah.
article the other day, a congressman, and I'm forgetting the state, but he had actually been a fighter before, and he was trying to get the Ali bill amended to apply to MMA and kickboxing.
That's the
Ali Act for boxing basically makes it
with the promoters, right?
Yes, so the promoters and managers can't completely fuck over fighters. It requires an independent ranking system.
Well, that's the argument for having a fighters union.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of, and there's what it would do with the UFC is okay, if these guys are really independent contractors, then you have to hold them to these standards that apply from the Ali Act. Or if you want to say you're a league like the NFL, then you have to actually treat them as employees and give them all
That
the
makes
benefits
sense.
of being employees. You can't have
You can't
you
say
can't,
one
you can't
and do
have
the
your
other.
cake and
Yeah.
eat it too. You have
That's
to.
completely fair. I mean,
Yeah.
This is the first time in our whole life that fighters, especially women, this is an actual viable career that you can live off of.
Right.
And
Yeah, kinda.
ish. We're getting there.
Getting
And
there.
it's true.
Yeah.
If,
Getting there.
if
It's a
you
work
want
in
to be
progress.
at that level and have fighters at that level, then either make them employees and treat them fairly, or give them all the tools to deal with it otherwise.
Yes. Yeah, there
That's
should be
only
a fighters
fair.
union.
And a lot of us have talked about this before. We, as fans, need to get behind this, because we cannot expect people to put their bodies on the line for our enjoyment without supporting them. Like, kind of assholes
can't.
are we? You know what I mean?
Throw us in the gladiator pit.
Yeah. Are you not entertained? Yeah, the fans need to get behind you guys.
Well, they don't understand. They
Yeah.
don't really see what what they go through.
Right,
We see it. Even though we don't do it, we see it.
Right.
They're not seeing it. They don't.
Yeah, a lot of
they
people
don't know.
see the
They just
fight.
see
They're
the
like, oh, you get
entertainment.
in there for 15 minutes, you get paid a bunch of money.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
That's it. You just walked in off the street for 15 minutes.
You
I can
just-
do that shit.
Yeah, you just made X amount of money for being in a cage for 15 minutes. That's what
Right.
they see.
No, that was
Right.
years and years of work, and you're only allowed to do that maybe 3 times a year.
Exactly.
So can you live off that?
And that's honestly one of the reasons I think that the Conor McGregor thing upsets me. Like everyone he's training with is I'm sure he's gonna pay them. I would hope, but they're gonna find another fight for Nate Diaz. But when these fighters pull out and the fights get pulled, that's a lot of money after months and months of a training camp and not being able to fight now.
Well, I don't think the UFC 200 is
Right,
scrapped.
like,
Everybody else still gets to fight.
No, but what if Nate Diaz doesn't get he obviously he might not need the money.
But the UFC will take care of Nate because this wasn't Nate's fault. Nate showed up and did what he needed to do.
Right, but it does happen a lot when fights get scrapped that it's just the other fight when it's not as big of a fighter as Conor McGregor. They
The
just pull the
UFC
fight.
is actually pretty good about that, though. While they might not be about some other things, they are usually good about if one fighter does something and kind of fucks off and bails out on a fight, they will take care of the fighter that still showed up and was ready to
What
fight.
does that mean though? Do
That's nice.
do
Means they pay them
to win and to show, or
a lot of times I've heard them getting paid both. Yes.
okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's nice.
actually very honorable.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
it is.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It is.
Is Invicta under the Zuffa umbrella now, or are they still an independent country?
I don't. If they're an independent country.
Independent country. They have their sovereignty.
No, they're kind of like
Shannon is
Puerto Rico to the U.S.
Yeah. Okay. Shannon is El Presidente.
minus the bankruptcy thing. I actually I am a little unclear, and I don't know if they're public about what the relationship is between Invicta and
They don't
Zuffa.
tell you when you sign a contract with
Yeah.
them, and here are all of our corporate.
Here's our hierarchy. Here's who answers to who.
All right, well that's fair. They're like, you show up and fight, we'll take care of all
I know
of that
that
shit.
some people in Invicta have actual UFC contracts, like Jessamine Duke and Angie Hill, because
Right.
they were cut from the UFC, but they didn't actually cut their contracts. They kept their contracts and just bumped them into Invicta
so they can
instead.
fight for both.
They weren't. No, they're in Invicta. They're not going to fight for both, but they kept their contracts,
Oh, that's interesting.
so they're getting paid way more than everyone else.
Wow.
Oh.
But they were like, you're already under contract with us. We're going to keep you under contract and just move you to Invicta.
Yeah.
All right.
Jessamine one of your homies. You guys hang out. So is Shayna Baszler. Sorry, please don't beat me up.
I'm not going to, but she might.
I know. That's why I'm like, please don't beat me up. But you guys are homies and you fought before. Were you friends before you fought, or did you become friends
No.
after you
Shayna
fought?
and I were not friends when we fought. We became friends after.
Oh, okay.
That's actually how I met Josh too, because he cornered Shayna against me.
Well,
Oh,
she's been training with
So
Josh
she
forever.
claims ultimate wingman status on
All
that
right.
one.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done, Shayna.
Have you ever had to fight anybody that you're friends with?
Yeah, I did this weird reality show thing that never aired that Julie Kedzie and Caitlin Young and some other people were on, and we all became good friends, and then we had to fight each other, and it was this total shit show. Like they
Caitlin
locked us
trained
in a
with you
house.
guys too.
She did. She moved back to Minnesota now, and she's been in Thailand, and she's done with MMA. She's decided she's going to do Muay Thai, but she was out here with us for a year or so.
Yeah, I remember
Which was
that.
awesome because Caitlin Young is a great human being.
She's
I just
awesome.
love her. Yeah. But she's sticking to Muay Thai now, which is she that's what she likes doing. I think she kind of felt like MMA is where everything's going. That's where the money is. That's where you have to go. But her heart is in Muay Thai and kickboxing.
Yeah.
So she's gone back to that.
So she's the only friend you've ever had to fight.
No, I didn't fight Caitlin. It was Casey Noland is who I fought on that show that I was friends with.
So how weird is
What's that like?
Weird. Like I cooked her breakfast that morning.
And then
I'm not kidding.
and then you're trying to bash her face.
Here's
in.
your eggs. I'm gonna
We were
punch
like,
you in the face
and
in a
this is
couple
weird.
hours.
It was this really weird situation too, because the show was such a disaster. Like they locked us in the house and didn't feed us for days or let us out. It was all they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, right? So you became like close with everyone, and so it was like an extra weird circumstance, right? I don't think this would have happened had it not been this show and it developed the way it did. But even before, we were like, I don't really want to elbow you. Yeah, I don't really want to elbow you either. Okay, let's not do that.
Let's not do elbows. Well, because that happens in grappling all the time. You face your friends at grappling tournaments all the time.
Yeah, but it's different when you're striking. Makes it different.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like it's way less mean to choke a friend out than it is to fucking elbow a friend in the face.
Totally.
You know?
I mean, I would imagine I don't elbow many of my friends in the face, but I get what you're saying.
Not intentionally.
Right.
Yeah. It happens.
All right. Do you consider yourself a BJJ person or a catch wrestler?
I consider myself an MMA fighter, and I think all of that is contained within MMA.
But you train mostly in catch wrestling.
No, I just train submission game on the ground.
Oh, nice.
I don't.
I know you
I
do
don't
come visit us.
I
sometimes,
intentionally
which is fun.
don't label it. Well, I don't consider 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has a gi on. I don't think there's any such thing as no gi BJJ, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
It's just submission grappling.
Okay. You just read an article about that somebody had a very strong opinion on that. Start the conversation.
It was basically exactly that.
Really?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is with the gi.
Okay.
And anything outside, it's the traditional way is the only way. Basically, is this what this
to
guy
be
was
considered
saying.
Well, because
Brazilian
submission
Jiu-Jitsu.
grappling was a
Jiu-Jitsu,
thing
at all.
long before BJJ
Right.
existed, right? So then to take it and call it no gi BJJ is just silly. It's not. It's submission grappling.
That's a
Or
fair
submission
argument.
And that was
Yeah.
the
Same
argument
thing.
was that's what he was calling it. Was
Right,
submission
like 10th
grappling,
10th
so.
Planet is not BJJ. 10th
Well,
Planet is
Eddie,
submission grappling.
He says we're in the family of BJJ, but he doesn't call it 10th Planet Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu. It's
Right.
It's his own style. Yeah. I get that argument. When you first said it, because you just basically gave me the headline, I was like, oh, what do you mean? Don't consider us part of the community. But now that you guys say it that way, I see what you're saying. Totally.
I'll really piss some people off with this one. I also don't
okay.
consider Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu a martial art because it only has a sport element, and I consider martial arts to have a sport is just a portion of it, but it's not the entire thing. Right? Like there's people that I did Taekwondo forever. There's people that just do sport Taekwondo. I don't consider them to be doing martial arts. Right? So if what you're doing is training purely for the competition and the rule set of that very specific competition, then you're training for sport.
Okay.
Not martial
So
art.
what makes you a martial artist?
It's kind of a more holistic, and that's one that I'm like, man, I still don't feel like I actually have a definition that I feel satisfied with of what I would consider a martial art. But so when I did karate or when I did taekwondo, there's
you
a
have
lot.
a black belt in.
Yeah, there's a lot to it, right? I mean, besides just the fact that you do your like your kata or your pumse and self-defense elements and all these other things, there's a whole like an attitude and mentality of respect and discipline, and like in BJJ there's so much gaming the system, right? Like I'm gonna try
With,
and
like points, I'm gonna stall
try
for
and
points.
stall for points or throw
That's
a giant
bullshit.
fucking fit if I don't get the points I want or don't get something
there's an
scored the way I
advantage. What's
want.
an advantage?
And that's just considered
that's just poor sports.
right, but that poor sportsmanship is kind of par for the course in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, really. It happens all the time in tournaments where people are just throwing fits, whereas any place I have trained what I consider to be a traditional martial arts, your instructor would fucking rip you a new one for trying to pull something like that.
Right. So, wow, that's interesting. I agree with that. When you compete, do you strictly compete no gi, or do you ever put on a gi and compete?
No, I mean, I've put a gi on a handful of times in my life and trained, but never... Actually, no, that's not true. I did compete in a gi. So, 2 years ago at the World Grappling Championships in Hungary, I was there for the U.S. team, and I had gone out for no gi, and then there was no one in my weight class in gi. So they were like, hey, just go compete. What's the worst that happens? You lose. And I was like, okay.
You're like, they grab my collar, and I don't know what they're doing.
It ended up being like I got to weigh in a day earlier if I did gi, so I was like, okay,
You're
all
like,
right,
I'm in,
okay,
yeah.
sure. So I got out there and I wore a sports bra in the top, and the girl like tied up with me and then grabbed my sports bra and pulled it up.
What?
Oh, no.
And apparently I was supposed to be wearing a rash guard and I didn't know this, and so I had to let go of my grips and cover my tit, and she tossed
cover my
me and
boobie up.
like. And ended up in a side choke, and I felt like I was suffocating with a gi because I'm not used to that at all, and I ended up tapping to it. But I wrestled that same girl in no gi, and she did the exact same throw, and I got out and took her back and just smashed her for it.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
You're like,
For
I don't need no
exposing
gi.
me.
I don't need no gi.
Fuck you for exposing
Submission
me.
grappler. I like that. So you're a fan of submission only tournaments.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, go for the finish. Why play for points?
Amen.
Exactly.
Yeah. But obviously, we're all quite biased here to that to that style.
bit.
We're all like, yeah, EBI style.
Fuck your point.
I like the EBI format. I mean, it gets a
Yeah.
little convoluted with some of the overtime rules.
The whole point of that is to get a winner.
Yeah.
So it is the whole point of it was to put people in bad positions to determine either a winner or quickest submission time. It's a little funny, but it works.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it
Otherwise-
works. And Eddie put a
otherwise-
lot of thought into how can we get a winner in every single match, and 100% of EBI matches.
End of
There's
it.
a clear winner.
Right.
So,
Yeah. But in more and more, just other tournaments too are doing submission only, which is cool
Yeah.
to see.
I think it's a lot of
Because people were
tournaments.
upset with like Polaris that they all ended in a
Yeah.
draw because there was no definitive
There were
winner.
some good matches.
There
though.
were
Did
some
you guys
great
watch it?
matches. Yeah.
She
Absolutely.
watched it. I only saw the highlights.
Yeah. I just watched it again
Saw
this weekend,
Travis
actually.
with his toe hold.
I didn't actually see Travis's
Oh,
match.
he got a verbal tap, but it didn't get
It's on
counted.
YouTube. Watch it.
The guy
it's
screamed,
bullshit.
and so Travis lets go.
Bullshit.
Yeah, which is
as
a
you
verbal
would,
tap. Yeah.
And
But
they're
the-
like, no.
But the guy was like rolling off the mat, like he was crawling off the mat. So supposedly that's why it was reset, even though he
But
screamed.
if you're intentionally
Right.
crawling out of bounds to avoid a submission, then that should be it. Right? Like, there's a lot of things in freestyle wrestling rules should be applied more in submission grappling. Like, you shouldn't intentionally be able to go out of bounds to escape.
Yeah, isn't that called? There's a word for that. It's
Being a little bitch.
well, there's that.
That's a good one.
That's the technical term.
Evading.
Right. Yeah, it's called evading.
So, but
being a little bitch is the technical term.
but the weirdest part was that after they called it and they went to reset them up, they gave the guy a minute to, like, I don't know, catch his breath or something. They're like, oh,
Did he have to fix his ponytail?
Take a minute.
Is that what
like-
it was? He had to
So
fix
that, I
his
mean,
hair?
that's
I don't know.
that's
I
the
don't fucking
refs.
know.
That's the
Kidding.
refs' fault.
But totally. Anyways, it was a verbal tap. We didn't. That's the only match that I saw a couple highlights, and that was what I saw. Yeah. So there's that.
We'll call it a moral victory for Travis.
Travis Nuwaza, we love you. Mr. World Traveler Grappler Man. Look him up, people. He's awesome.
Right? He's all over the place.
You are smart as shit.
You have a degree in physics?
Flipping
Is that
physics.
I do, yes.
What?
But I've gotten punched in the head a lot since acquiring that degree, so I make no claims to...
Did you ever work as a physicist?
No, I did research in college at the Lawrence Berkeley Laboratories in astrophysics, but post-graduation, no.
Wow.
I got into MMA shortly after that.
So what were you...
Yeah,
what was
were
your
you- what were
field
you
of
going
study
for?
when you were doing that?
I did, like I said, I did my research in astrophysics, though I also got really into cognitive neuroscience, and I felt kind of drawn to that as well. I was a little pulled between the two, and then ended up deciding I just wanted to...
Right, you're like, first I'm going to
people
figure out how
motivate.
brains work.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to go get punched in my head
Yeah,
and see if
yeah.
that affects my brain.
I'm going to do some direct research on this whole... yeah.
How did that bridge happen? Because you're not the first one. There's another CSW lady that I want to bring up later that Jillian Davis. I'm going to talk about her later.
She's an affiliate, yeah.
Yeah, she's getting her PhD in microbiology and molecular genetics.
Yeah,
Now, does
Jillian's
Eric
awesome.
Paulson, like, do you have to show him your resume before you come train with him? And are you guys building, like, a supervillain team or something? What's going on over there?
I won't be allowed in.
Don't tell anyone. It's a secret.
No, how did you make that leap
jump.
into fighting?
Well, I had done, even while I was in college, I was competing in Taekwondo. So UC Berkeley has the best collegiate Taekwondo team in the country. It's
Who knew?
well known. Well, anyone who does Taekwondo knows, right?
Right.
Like, it's pretty well known in that community. So I trained there, competed there, coached there, and basically after graduating and starting to see MMA and see what MMA was, I was just very drawn to that.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome. That's why.
I started doing Sanshou first, actually, after Taekwondo, because I felt like that was a good transition point between what I knew in Taekwondo and what there was in MMA as a whole. Mm-hmm. Sanshou is the Chinese martial art fighting style, right?
Okay.
Like Kung Lee did Sanshou.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they do like kickboxing, but they also throw things like side kicks and other kinds of kicks that aren't traditionally in kickboxing, and they do takedowns.
Oh.
Well, that's
So.
cool.
Yeah, it's a
What
cool
did your
style.
parents think when you went from physics, doing research
a
at a
good
laboratory, to getting punched in the head?
Yeah, so my dad's initial reaction was like, why the hell are we paying for your college degree?
We sent you to Berkeley, young lady.
Yeah, but no, once they saw that I was serious about it and it was what I really wanted to do and was committed to it, they're totally behind me. Like, my mom came to my first amateur fight and was, "What? I can't watch, blah, blah, blah." And then during the fight is just screaming her head off, like, "Fucking murder her, Colleen!" So
Do you have
she
any
was into
siblings?
it. Yeah, I have two brothers.
Oh, nice. Can you beat them up now? Did they grow up?
They're both
Did they beat you up
a lot
growing up?
bigger than me. The older one, I have one that's 10 years older. He totally.
But how
Yeah,
big are
but-
you? You train
I
with
mean-
big
So
guys.
my
Yeah.
younger brother is he's a Marine Corps officer, and he actually is at Quantico and is an instructor now. And he was telling me the other day that they Invicta put out like a cool promotional video, and the guys are about to go do some of their martial arts training. So all the Marines were watching my promotional video
Nice.
before they went out. I was like,
That's
oh, that's pretty
awesome.
cool.
Your brother's in the Marines? That's awesome. Thank you for your service, sir. My father
sure.
was a Marine. We love the Marines.
Nice.
Semper Fi. Well, that's awesome. You had an incident this morning
I had an incident.
You did?
with some chickens.
Oh.
Oh, I was like, what? What happened?
You're like, I did it. I didn't know what happened. Tell us about your chickens.
So it's my dog's 11th birthday.
Happy
So
birthday.
Hey, take him to the store. Bibimbap. Happy birthday, Bibimbap. And I get him this big ass bone, like big old meaty bone. And I've gotten him bones before, and one of my chickens, Benedict, she will eat anything and everything. And
I love that you name your chickens, by the way.
Yeah, of course you know. They're totally pets.
They're her pets.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
So Benedict before has tried to like get at my dog's bone while he's eating it, and he'll growl and growl and kind of cut her off, and eventually she'll leave. Clearly this morning the eventually she'll leave part just didn't happen because I'm inside and I hear this crazy fucking squawking, like noises I have never heard from that bird before. I run outside and the dog is chasing the chicken around the front yard, and there are feathers everywhere, including completely filling my dog's mouth. I'm screaming at him. The chicken runs out into the backyard, and he's just standing there, kind of like, I know I did something wrong, but mom, I had my bone. I had to defend my bone.
You eat my bone. It was my bone.
Yeah, I get you, dog. I get you, and you know it's your bone. But I need to go make sure the chicken's not dead. And I couldn't find her for an hour. She just hid under the porch. Eventually she came out and she just had like patches missing out of her, like feathers were pointing in the wrong direction, and she was all like so
She's all traumatized.
Yeah.
She needs to go to a chicken therapist.
She's okay though, right?
yeah, she's okay, and I'm
go to a
pretty
chicken
sure she
therapist.
won't try and eat the dog's bone
Probably
anymore.
not. What are your other chickens' names?
Benedict Lawrence, which is named after Josh, it's his middle name, and
Aww.
Bert and Beaker.
Beaker.
Beaker from the Muppets?
Yeah, it was originally Bert and Ernie, but then the one we had named Ernie was this total spaz and made these kind of noises like Beaker makes. So she got renamed to Beaker.
That's a girl, too.
Oh, they're all girls. They just all have
awesome.
boys' names.
Oh, because they're chickens. They
Yeah.
have to lay
They're
eggs. They
hens.
have to be.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
roosters, just hens.
All right.
All right.
All right. And now the dog.
If there's
And
any,
I named Lawrence after Josh because I got the chickens while I had wanted chickens forever, and he was not on board with this plan. Did not want chickens. And he was in Thailand filming a movie for 6 weeks, so while he was gone, I just got the chickens.
like, fuck you, I'm getting chickens.
And so I named one after him because I thought it was just entertaining to me to be like, haha, I got chickens, and that one's named after you.
You're like Bill, you know, the comedian Bill Burr.
Yeah.
He talks about how his wife adopted a dog when he was gone, and she called him, and she was like, so I did something, and it kind of involves both of us. And he goes, does that sound like you just made a life commitment for 10 years for me, or did you just like buy tickets to a play or something? Josh is in Thailand filming a movie, and she's like, so I did something, but you're gonna get some eggs out of it. So
And
be happy.
I was like, omelets, babe. Any day you want omelets, I got
It's
you.
gonna feed us.
Yeah.
Now, is it weird to train with your boyfriend? Like, do you guys ever butt heads when you're like, shut up and don't tell me what to do?
Yeah. So he's not my coach anymore, but he used to be my coach, and we used to
That's
fight
smart.
Yeah.
all the time.
Totally.
That's super smart.
Our entire relationship is better now that he's not my coach.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because he and I are both very strong personalities.
Don't tell me what to do.
Right? I know, you're shocked by this information.
No, that's smart. So then who's your main corner now?
So I've been working with, I actually haven't been at CSW very much my last 2 camps.
Okay.
Right. I've been working with some teammates out like in LA more, which is kind of nice. 'Cause I don't have to drive to Fullerton every day.
Right.
Like I was at Tap Out today with O'Neill Cespedes, who I do a ton of work with. It was my corner for my last fight, and then
Nice.
Milan Kostic, who runs Prevail, which is a boxing gym, and then Dustin Shaw was there with me. I've been
Dustin's
doing a lot of work
awesome.
with him. Yeah. So I've actually trained my last 2 fights. I've trained totally different than I've ever trained for a fight before. Everything's a lot more intentional. Like I feel like so much of the training in MMA is kind of taking old modalities of training, like traditionally this is what you do in boxing or kickboxing, and it's not the same, right? Like training training freestyle wrestling or training boxing isn't the same as training for those within the context of MMA.
For sure.
So when even though there might be some, not to say there's not value in training that way, but you're not getting as much out of it as you could as if you were being more sport specific with your training.
Of course, because
Right.
you have to take into account that if I kick here, they can take me down.
Yeah.
Like-
And also a lot of like training mentality ends up being like just go, grind. And it's like, yeah, that might make you tougher, but it's not really making you better.
Right.
Right? It's not like
not
saying
every
where are you
MMA
as a
fighter is
fighter
a
or a martial
physicist,
artist.
so-
And I get very cerebral about like the way I look at training.
Do you like create like I don't know, you're a scientist, so do you approach it scientifically and create like a plan, like a scientific plan to your
I
fighting?
don't consider it a scientific plan, but I do try and be really intelligent about the way I approach training, right? Like I try and look at like where on the most basic fundamental level, like what I need to be effective in the cage, right? And how to best develop that.
Okay.
For me.
How much does it change based on your opponent?
Not that much. Not that much, because really it's working on my game and making me a better martial artist.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
If you had to pick, like if you had to be a singular martial artist, what would you choose if you had to?
To compete in?
Yeah,
or just
to compete in.
What's your favorite?
Can I pick MMA?
I guess.
I mean, because is that like am I cheating if I pick MMA?
Yeah, what if MMA went away and you could only have one?
That's like you
because
only...
MMA is the best.
That's like you only get 3 wishes. Can I wish for extra wishes?
Yeah, totally.
Exactly what that was.
Yeah. All of them.
Honestly, like I think Sancho is rad.
Yeah.
I would compete in Sancho. I think. Yeah.
Is there striking?
Yeah, it's striking and takedowns.
Is
So
there
it's basically
grappling
everything.
then?
Or Sambo, because Sambo is fucking
Sambo's pretty
combat
badass.
Sambo. But
Yeah.
then again, I feel like I'm kind of cheating and
Right,
saying
you're
MMA.
like all of the
Or I
things.
did the coolest martial art. I was trained in Korea for a while, and they have this martial art called Shiram, which is you wear these like giant diapers and you wrestle in sand.
What? That kind of sounds like sumo for skinny people.
No, but they're big.
Okay.
They're big. But it's kind of like sumo wrestling in the sand.
Like there's also
there's pictures of me doing
there's
that somewhere on
an
the internet.
African wrestling
find this.
sport where like they toss each other in the
Yeah.
sand and stuff like that. There's also that weird greasy Russian one where the guys try and stick their hands down the other one's pants.
No,
Do you know what I'm talking
no,
about?
But that doesn't
Yeah.
sound fun.
So it's like totally greased up guys wearing leather pants, and the objective is to get your hand inside your opponent's pants, and then at
then
that
what?
point you
And
take
then-
him down
yeah.
or you cup his balls. I don't know.
like squeeze and you win.
Something maybe. I don't know. Somebody find that video.
I
It's
feel
been
like a
posted
woman might
before.
have a significant advantage,
Right?
Well, actually, maybe not.
What is it? What is it? called?
Wait.
I don't know what it's called, but it's
Depends on
I
how
feel
you look at it.
like
Yeah,
Eddie and
yeah.
Joe Rogan and all those guys have
God.
posted it. It's like Russian guys or Greek guys that are wrestling in oily with no shirts and
I
don't
feel like
know.
Eddie once made a comment to me that looked like I was doing some like Hungarian wrestling or something.
Oh, maybe that's
like,
it. I
So
don't
I'm
know.
wondering if that had anything to do with that.
I have no idea. Do you get all greased up and
No,
I
I
just
just-
put your hands down people's pants when
I
I'm not
apparently
looking?
fucked up whatever I was doing, and that was
All right.
him making fun of me.
I have no idea.
Dustin told me a story this morning. I feel like I don't know if I can say this. Oh no, it's Eddie, so it probably doesn't matter. That
Eddie's an open book.
Eddie used to do this thing in practice called race wars. So he would be like, okay, all the Mexicans over here, all the black people over there, all the white people over here, and he would have them compete for points and see which race won.
Eddie Bravo, ladies and gentlemen.
I have never
that's my sensei. Dude, Eddie. Look, okay,
amazing.
when Tech Planet first started, it was like, I don't know, like 20 of us in a little tiny gym. There weren't.
Can you attest to
PR
this
issues.
story?
Yeah, it happened.
Okay.
It's Eddie. What do you expect?
I don't know why anything could shock me these days. But I was never there for that.
Across
So
the
I
line.
don't just
Yeah.
okay.
No,
all
I
right.
doubt he would do that now, but
He's
He would-
more of a
he-
public figure now. He's got to be a little bit more PC.
He would ask
he's
if
calmed
we're-
down since he had a kid. A lot.
Kids
Yeah.
will do that to you.
Kids, he's a calmer. What's a gentler, nicer Eddie Bravo. Yeah. He's always been nice, but he's definitely
Mellowed
here
a bit.
toned
Yeah.
it down a little.
Nice.
Sex jitsu.
Okay, I don't actually know.
Before we
what
get
that
to
is.
sex jitsu, I
Oh,
may have
Did you find it?
Uh-oh.
I don't want
Oh. Will the people at home be able to see this?
to. Yeah, and I feel like
Take a gander. There's the. He kind of looks like Andre Galvo.
Turkish oil wrestling.
It's a full-on jug.
Okay, I was right in the
God.
middle. It is right in the middle
Oh,
of Greece
God.
and Russia. So Turkish.
I think we need to have a Turkish oil wrestling event in WeHo.
I think that's where this was.
I thought they were. Yes, this is what I saw.
Look,
Is there
look,
no video?
Yes. That's the objective.
How is that the?
I don't know. The goal is to hold on
And
to your
then
opponent's kisbet. What the fuck is a
Hold on to your
kisbet?
opponent's kisbet
The
or
pants.
specially made pants. The most effective way to win is to shove your arm. Okay, so the goal
Okay.
is to hold on to the pants, and the easiest way to hold on to the pants is from the inside.
Yeah, but if he moves the wrong way, I'll break his arm off too.
Yeah. It seems like you would totally break your arm off.
So you use the pants,
Guys,
It's kind of like gi
Gi, but you
jujitsu,
can
but
go
you stick
in-
your hands down their pants.
It's just a bunch
It's
of really
not just
like,
gripping.
hot, ripped, oiled men.
IBJJF going to start
I
adding
think they take a picture. Hold on.
I'm trying to find a video of it.
Please do. Right there.
Oh my god.
Oh, this is.
Oh, we're gonna get a
going
whole.
Well, if this isn't
Getting
gonna
a
get us,
we're getting a whole
if this
cultural
isn't gonna
story.
get
Hang
us more watchers, then I don't know what will.
I mean, I think us actually doing this might.
That's gonna be the next ladies tournament.
Look, they're pummeling.
oil
They're
each other.
pummeling with their oily.
And the white people are just watching.
Okay, so you know how usually. Yeah.
They're like, we're missionaries, and we've just come here to help these young boys oil each other up.
We're doing a documentary.
But you have to wonder like where this developed from, right? Because martial arts usually have some kind of particular reason they developed the way they did.
Are they praying?
So why the hell did this?
There's a dance
develop?
to it.
Well, maybe
We need the wiki
with the
with the Wikipedia
oil.
on this.
There was like a prayer-looking thing, a dance,
there was definitely a ritual that went along with it.
and these are younger boys than that.
Well, you got to
well, they
start
don't get as
young.
oily.
Yeah.
They're not getting as oily.
Oil comes in time.
Is the oil like you have to be prepared
be
in
in a-
case they're
maybe that's,
sweady?
if
so
you-
we're just gonna preempt that and
maybe-
put oil on them. That way you can
Maybe
deal with it
that's
when
how
they're
you
sweaty?
get your
Maybe that's like a
That's
ranking
a-
thing. They have to be 16.
a
at
rite
least
of
or something.
passage. You get your oil,
Oh.
yourself oiled up. I don't know.
Not just your oil checked.
Oh, jeez.
Not just your oil checks. Though that probably
Oh, jeez.
happens.
I mean, it has
I
to,
think
right?
they're counting on it.
I feel like it's
couple of 'em
expected.
are.
We
Yeah.
need a camera inside the pants.
See what's going on down there.
I don't know what to do with this. I really don't.
What kind of oil do you think they're using?
Olive
It's
oil.
It's
not
olive
cook-
oil.
It's
It's
not coconut
in
oil.
Turkey.
It
It's
is.
olive
Oh,
oil.
it's olive
Totally
oil.
olive oil.
Yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah.
Do you
Get
think
it in
that?
there.
Do you
Get
think
it
that
in
they
there.
chose olive oil specifically for a reason?
Well,
or-
they're in Turkey.
A
They
lot of
produce
olives
their
there?
own olive oil.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Turkish olive oil.
Oh, get it in
You
there.
didn't
Get
put
it in there.
pants.
Open it up. Get it in there.
Oh
Oh,
god.
jeez. All right.
Is there? I just want to see them doing it. If it's
You might have to skip to the end.
I really don't know what to do with this. And do they all just run at each other? Like,
Oh.
they do.
Yes.
Like Red
yes,
Rover?
Oh.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like a tag team.
And
Wait.
those are,
Wait,
look,
so
those
they're-
are chaps.
so
they're
they're-
wearing,
Are
They're
they
not
are they
chaps.
teams?
they're
Are they
chap-ish.
They're
They're
teams and they have
chap-ish.
multiple people on each team and you just
I
it's a
don't know.
free for all?
But I think we need to start throwing these competitions is basically the point.
All right, so for the next EBI,
Grease
Eddie,
them up.
somebody tag Eddie Bravo.
Oil them up.
Now on to sex jitsu.
Yeah, sex jitsu. So my husband now trains. And we discovered last week through a conversation that now we implement jujitsu moves while we're having sex. It's beneficial. Like sometimes I'll use butterfly hooks or we sweep each other, or you can get like mounted butterfly, and it's helpful. So you're probably the most advanced person in the room, and I'm sure you've got to have some tips for us for sex jitsu or sex catch wrestling, as it were.
okay, but it's still like even Josh is kind of hard to butterfly sweep, right?
I would
like
imagine.
he weighs 250
But
pounds.
he's got to sweep you sometimes.
Yeah. Well, he will fucking just pick me up and suplex me onto the bed. Like that's his.
Is that your foreplay?
Well, yeah. Literally, the first time he and I ever had sex, that was what he did, and I was like,
Wow.
"Oh my god, that was so hot! Yes, take me now."
so
not
amazing.
kidding.
Right, so, okay, this was my point, because, Jonathan's kind of burly, too. So sometimes I have to, like, get a half lockdown in to hold on, or else I'm going to go flying. So you just got to hold on with something. So I'm saying, like, do you... underhooks, like an underhook and an overhook, and you guys pummel, like...
Greasy pummel like they were just doing there. Oil pummel.
Have you introduced olive oil into your sex catch wrestling?
No, but I'm
The wheels are turning.
Yeah. I'm considering options.
Right? You could probably sell pay-per-view for that.
If this whole fighting thing doesn't
I'm
pan
just
out.
saying, we might have a whole new business
Switch
on our
over
hands,
to
guys.
pornography.
You never know.
Sex jitsu. Yeah, we'd have to call it sex catch wrestling.
I just want to put out a
Sex-
disclaimer when
what?
we talk about sex jitsu that this is people, they're in a relationship or, you're dating someone.
What, 'cause people not in relationships can't have sex?
No, no,
Don't
no,
be a
no,
Puritan.
no,
Don't be
listen,
Sister
let
Mary
me finish
Snowflake.
what I'm fucking trying to
I know where
say.
she's going with this.
You see where I'm
Yeah.
going. On the mats, you do not sexualize
Correct.
jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely
Okay?
not.
But at home in bed, you can.
Right.
That's okay.
Hey,
In
Unless
in
you're
your
grappling
dating
with
life,
someone you're already dating, and then
That's true.
sometimes
Well,
you
then-
sexualize it on the mat.
then you can do what
True.
you want. But
we are
99%
not
of the time.
condoning in
Agreed.
any way sexualizing jiu-jitsu.
Don't
on the
sexualize
mat.
your partners on the mats.
Yes.
Unless they're your partner.
Off the mats is what she's.
Hey, you guys want to know something?
Yes.
No.
Becky's going on a date of mistaken identity.
What? How does that happen?
She accepted a date with somebody that she thought was somebody else.
How does that happen?
I don't really know that.
Is the internet involved?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't really know either of them. So one was I hadn't heard from in a while, and he texted me over the weekend. Was like, "Do you want to go grab a drink?" And I was like, "Sure," but I don't get off till really late tonight. And apparently he's old too because I said 10:30, and he was like, "Oh, that's late." Saturday night at 10:30 is late. All right, whatever. So then a couple days later, I get another message talking about going, if I wanted to go to some show.
Now, are their names similar? Is like one of them B-R-I-A-N and one of them's B-R-Y-A-N or something?
So my mind first went to the dude that texted me over the weekend. So I was like, oh, sure, that sounds cool. I'm down.
Did you have them named in your phone?
Yeah, I did. I do.
But are they similar names?
Both their names start with an R.
That's the only similarity?
But I kind of get if you hadn't heard from one and then just
He came
thinking.
out, he like kind of popped up out of nowhere, and I was like,
Do you want to be going on a date with Accident Guy? No.
I already met him once. I don't know.
Just not feeling it.
And I'm not the kind of girl to like accept a date and accept dinner and stuff, and just to get the dinner and drinks or whatever out of it. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, that's lame if you
Yeah.
don't enjoy the
that
company of the person that you're with.
Well, on top of aside from that, I'm not gonna go and just to get the dinner out of it too. I know some
that's
girls
lame.
will do that, but
No, that's lame.
I'm not gonna leave.
So what you gonna do?
Well, if you already went on the date once and you weren't feeling it,
I may have already backed up.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's
What about the original R guy? Are you going to go on a date with him?
Oh, I haven't heard from him. I don't know.
R.
I'm in no.
So the story
I don't really care.
went nowhere.
Poor R number
No
one.
sex jitsu.
Poor R number one.
It was just about the mistaken identity
I thought you were okay.
and the accidental acceptance.
When I had talked to her, she had accepted the date and not
I did.
realizing who the other one was.
Oh no! I thought it was the other one asking
Yeah.
instead of the one that actually did.
Yeah.
He's watching right now. He's
He's so hurt right now.
R number one is
I've
just,
not mentioned this to either of them. So
But if they follow you on social media.
Oh yeah, there's no way
no,
they
have
don't.
no way.
Of course they do.
All
I
150
guess
people who
there's-
follow us might tell them.
None of them know who this person. Wait, maybe
If
one
you know
person
someone with a
knows.
name starting with R,
That
just
knows
start
Becky.
telling them.
Just start.
Well, now that Colleen's on the show, we're going to have like 400 people watch. Usually 150.
You're banking on a lot there. We'll see. Let's see what I pull.
There's no oil wrestling, Turkish wrestling.
Why not?
Going on
That's
here
the.
yet.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
next
that's
time
our
I
new-
come on, we're going to do that.
That's our new thing.
We're going to get this desk out of here.
Yep. Throw some mats down.
Grease up.
So,
Yes.
who's your biggest inspiration? Who would you say?
What?
As far as
What? Huh?
MMA.
Bring
now
it-
we're
bring it
taking
back
it.
to
We're
the
taking
serious.
it back
Go
to
back.
the
We're
fighting.
going back to like
Sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off there a little.
Interview style questions.
As far as sex jitsu, where do you get all your motivation from?
Well, I mean, there's that too.
My biggest inspiration for
Yeah.
sex jitsu.
Or
Oh.
No, wait. I mean, I have to say Josh.
I have to say,
It is Josh Barnett. I mean, you know.
and in fighting,
Who's my biggest inspiration in fighting? There's a lot of different people that I watch and follow and that I pull from. I've actually, I never used to study tape much, but I've been a lot more into it the last few months. So like the people that I'll get really, really into studying their style and how they move and kind of trying to break down the why of how they move the way they do. Like I spent a ton of time watching tape on Dominic Cruz.
He is super interesting movement.
He has, and a lot of it is actually
really
kind
good
of
the last fight.
old school boxing
Really?
footwork. Yeah, it's really interesting because boxing has changed a lot, and a lot of what even like Triple G, the way the moves and steps. Gennady Golovkin, who's about to fight Wade this weekend. Anyway, that's kind of a squash match, but whatevs. The way he does this thing where he'll like a way of blitzing where he's stepping same time he's punching and switching his stance with it, but in like a controlled way. But it's a thing that used to be used a lot more in boxing than it is now.
But that's a different sport. You're putting yourself in. You can't do the same things in that you can do in boxing and MMA.
Not necessarily, but there are things that you can do in boxing that do work in MMA.
Right.
Like Cruz has taken things that used to be a lot more prevalent in boxing and made them work in MMA.
Yeah.
And, like, I was actually super pumped when he fought Dillashaw because I love how Dillashaw fights. Like, the work he's done with Dwayne Ludwig, I think, has just been phenomenal.
His striking is amazing.
But it's more, even though it's different than how most people move, it's more predictable than how Cruz moves. Like, when you hear Cruz talk about how he moves, why he moves the way he does, it's really intelligent. What's behind it, what he's trying to set up, what he's reading, what he's seeing. It's he has a really, really good head for the game.
That's interesting.
Right? Like,
well, that's why he's an analyst now, because then he can turn around and analyze other people.
Absolutely. Those two are very much tied together. But if you listen to him talk about why he moves the way he does and why he does what he does, you're like, that's fucking brilliant.
That's interesting. Since it's your division, 135, what do you think of the UFC 135 division of ladies right now?
I was really happy to see Misha win.
I was really excited for her,
She's been in this sport for so long, and she puts so much heart into it. Like, there's times I've watched her fight and I'm like, man, she should lose this fight, but she just doesn't quit. Like, she really just wants it so much and puts so much heart into it that she, like, wills her way into victory. So, like, it felt good to see her have the belt.
Yeah, I'm with you. And Holly's a great fighter. Do you see do you see Misha being able to hold on to her belt for a while?
I think she'll win against Nunes, right? Because with Nunes, you basically need to get past the first round, and then she doesn't have, she doesn't have that much. When it gets later in the fight, she gets sloppy, she gets slow, she gets tired, and Misha's good at,
consistency.
We've seen her do really well in the later rounds.
I'm curious what they'll do with Ronda if and when she comes back.
I'm super curious what they'll do with her.
I'm really curious because so much of Ronda's game was predicated on her almost feeling of invincibility, I think, right?
I saw an article yesterday that she's just going to get who's ever the champ. That's what Dana White said.
Yeah.
Whenever she comes back.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how she performs. I don't think she'll be the same fighter.
You don't think so?
I think that loss will affect her. And it'll show in
it'll be
interesting to see.
She's been infallible now. Like, it's kind of what happened with Anderson Silva. Not the same thing. She didn't have as long as Reign, but now we see that she's human. And before that, she was invincible, and that's kind of how everybody treated her. And I said this a couple shows ago. One of two things is going to happen: either that she won't be able to mentally get past that, which I don't think is going to happen. I think she will come back and be a better fighter, but different. I think she'll have to figure out a different style.
I don't know if she will, the way she trains. I don't know if she'll adapt the way she needs to. I'm curious.
Do you think that's because of maybe her coach?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Edmund's definitely a part of that. The way he had trained her was to be like, you are infallible, you will always win. So in that fight where she wasn't winning, that was the first time within the context of MMA, obviously, she's lost before in judo, but within the context of MMA that she'd had to deal with, you're not winning, you're getting beaten, and she didn't deal with that well, right? She just charged forward and got...
Well, he was still telling her.
Yes.
You're doing... What did he say in between rounds? He said...
I mean, I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and you can probably talk about this better than any of us, but there's a point where you just have to keep your fighter going.
You're trying to pump them up.
Right, but
you know what I mean?
I don't think that she was at that point, right? It was one round, and it's the kind of thing where you say, hey, you know what? Take a step back, take your time. You're gonna play your game, but you don't need to force it, right? You're good, you're okay. But that's not where she was at or where he was at. You know? It was like, oh, we don't know how to deal with being down. We don't know how to deal with what we're trying to do not working.
This is all foreign right now. She's never been in that position.
Do you like cornering your teammates and your friends, or would you rather not corner them in a fight?
I like it. If I've worked with them and I've put the time in with them, then yes. Yeah, I do. It's nerve-wracking, right? Like, cornering people is... Because you don't have control. Like, I get more nervous cornering people than I do fighting.
For sure. Yeah.
But yeah, I do like it.
You got some good fighters that you train with. There's a whole little crew that you guys are kind of awesome. They're badasses.
So aside from sex jitsu, what do you do outside of, or being suplexed?
Or chasing chickens like Rocky?
When you're not having sex with your boyfriend or trying to prevent your chicken from being eaten by your dog.
Exactly. Or you're not training. What else do you do? Anything?
I work as a personal trainer since, fighting doesn't pay the bills. So I do that ish, which actually I really enjoy. But I do a lot of kind of urban homesteading stuff. Like I have a big vegetable garden and fruit trees, and I cook all the time. Like I brew my own kombucha and mead and ferment my own vegetables and bake my own bread.
When can we
You have
come
a
over?
huge yard for where you live.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
you
do.
got
I'm
really
lucky.
lucky with that place. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
She has a huge yard.
I live
which is
in
unheard of.
Hollywood,
Yeah.
but I have like a good sized front yard and a really big backyard.
Wow.
Like enough that I have a separate area for the chickens and a big vegetable garden and a big grassy
That's
area.
awesome.
What's the master plan?
Like long term master
Yeah, like
plan?
are you going to become an analyst? What are you going to do?
No, when I'm done with MMA, I'm done with MMA.
Really?
Yeah. I'll still, probably watch
Teaching?
the sport. No, I don't feel like I need to. That doesn't.
It's for you. What you
Yeah,
do
I'm
martial
doing
arts
this
is for you.
I do enjoy coaching and teaching to some capacity, but it's not what I want to do with my life, right? Like I'm doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like ultimately, it's a selfish endeavor. So
Nothing
when
wrong with
I
that.
am done fighting, I'm done with MMA.
That's
Wow.
interesting. So what do you
What do
have
you-
a long-term plan, or are you not there yet?
I'd like to have a family.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, little Barnett's running around.
No, Schneiders.
Oh, sorry. Just bit your head off.
I'm sorry, little Colleen. Little Colleen's just kicking all the ass all over the place.
Not that they wouldn't be with Josh. I'm just
I hear you.
being named.
I hear you. My maiden name and my married name are the same, so
You didn't have that
I
issue.
didn't have that
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
She just doubled
It's all,
up on
I'm just Gonzalez now. So something
not
that
an
we're-
issue I have to worry about yet.
Not an issue. I didn't have to change a thing. It was wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Something that we're trying to do is highlight ladies in the sport, because there's so many women around and they're maybe not getting a lot of recognition, or we just really want to acknowledge ladies in the sport that are doing badass things. And your teammate or your affiliate, Jillian Davis, is one of these ladies. She's awesome. She trains out of New Jersey. The school
How
is
did you
called-
find out about Jillian?
I'm in the Women's Grappling Network on Facebook.
Okay.
And so I said, hey, I want to hear about you ladies. Please, somebody, email me and tell me about yourself so we can talk about you. And last week we talked about this young girl named Genesis Rodriguez, who has been training since she was like 3 or 4. And her mom tried to put her into ballet, and she ended up going into jiu-jitsu, and she's like, yeah, that's for me. So then Jillian was another one of the ladies that reached out to me, and she's awesome. She started off at 200 pounds, and 5 months later, she decided she was going to do a grappling tournament and got down to 135 pounds.
What the
to
fuck?
weigh in at her tournament. And since then, that was, I think it was like 2012. Since then, she's done almost 50 competitions. Most of the time, she wins silver or gold, almost all golds. And she's held several titles. She was the 2013's PGL flyweight champion, 2013 ranked number 1 no-gi grappler, 2014 PGL bantamweight champion, 2014 no-gi Pan Am
And she's
American
doing.
champ.
She's what? Is she 2-0 in amateur MMA now?
I didn't get her MMA record.
I think 2-0 both
yeah.
wins by submission. She's been doing really
Wow.
well.
Yeah, she's a purple belt
That's
under Eric
amazing.
Paulson and Higan Machado. And she's also, what does this mean?
Brazen MMA is the name of her school.
What does it mean to be a level 1 coach or a level 3 catch wrestling?
It's just like a
under-
CSW thing.
Okay. So it's like a ranking. It's like the purple
Yeah,
belt.
But
yeah.
just within CSW, or
Yeah, well, CSW has Eric Paulson has a whole school of system of affiliates. So he has a level 1 coach. I don't know if that's higher or lower.
I don't know either. But whatever she is, she's badass, and she is also getting her PhD. Because the Eric Paulson super
genius,
genius team of people who can beat up. And we just wanted to say, Jillian, you're a badass, and we appreciate repping the sport, and you're amazing.
She
Come visit
posted
us.
a thing
it.
not that long ago about how a promoter was looking for a fight at a specific weight, and she said, I'll make the fight at that weight, and he came back and said, no, you're too big. And she
She's like,
basically
"But
was
not
like,
if
but
I weigh in."
if I say I can weigh that weight, then clearly, I fought at that weight before, I can make that weight. How can I possibly be too big? And she, was a bit upset by this. And I was like, has nothing to do with your weight. He thinks you're too good.
That's exactly what that
He
means.
doesn't want his girl to lose, and he thinks you will beat his girl.
That's
So
exactly
he's
what that
saying
means.
you're too big.
Yeah. Because if you can weigh
Does that
in.
happen
yeah.
a lot?
Yeah, especially in amateur. Totally.
Well, especially if
I've
you're
heard it
coming in with
recently
a-
from a friend that
Yeah.
someone backed out, and it was basically because they saw videos of her. And
Well, in amateur, I work for an amateur
terrible.
organization, the U of MMA, and so what'll happen a lot of times if you have somebody with a grappling background like Jillian or some of these other ladies who come in and have years and years and years of grappling, but maybe, I don't know, 6 months of striking, and they're like, oh, I'll take a fight. I'm down for that. But then their opponent only has 6 months of everything. Well, that person's coach is going to go, that's not a good matchup for my girl. She's going to get her ass kicked. There's a whole bunch of arguments to be made there. Like, it's amateur. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the record. It doesn't count for anything. Go in there and get the experience. Or the thing is, it's not a good matchup. Why take it?
Right, but you should at least say, no,
least
they
be
don't
honest
want
about
the
it.
fight.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
for
say
sure.
you're too big, which literally makes no sense if this is the weight the fight's at and you can make that weight.
Right.
Totally. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I told
Well,
him,
no one wants
take it
to
as a
say that. No
compliment.
one wants to admit that they're.
But they know there are some coaches that'll go, that's not a smart fight for my fighter.
Well, yeah, well, that's different than saying, I think you're gonna get kicked. Your butt's gonna get kicked. It's sort of.
No, you don't say it like that, but
Right,
there are
but you could
code
say
words.
that's not the matchup
Yeah.
that we're looking for.
Right.
Or,
yeah, if you
you're
come-
too experienced or...
Sure.
It happens all the time to the guys. They're, some kid's been wrestling since he was 3, and the coach will go, not for my guy. He just started doing ground like 6 months ago. It's not a good fight for us. You can say that.
Destroy him on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, there's no...
So what's the
It's
process
amateur.
then from going from amateur to professional?
It's whatever the hell you want it to be. It's not something that's necessarily structured or regulated. Well, the California Athletic Commission kind of tries to regulate it now. They want to like approve you when you go pro, but that doesn't really mean shit. The process is just you or your coach decide you're ready to go pro and you go pro.
Because you could always go to another state and fight if you
Right.
don't want to go through California.
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on where it's sanctioned.
So then how do promotions find you? Because I can't imagine that anybody could just be like, oh, I'm gonna go and fight with.
Do you have like a manager or something?
You either through your coach or through your manager. They'll reach out to promoters.
And is it like a tape or like how do they know?
No, you just say, hey, this is my guy. This is his deal. If they're, if they've had fights already, if they've had amateur fights and there's tape, you can show them that, or you tell them their amateur record. But it's really either if they have a manager reaching out, otherwise the coach reaching out and talking to promoters.
And the promoters will sight unseen sign someone to like a professional contract.
Well, here's the thing: you're not only top level organizations are signing multi-fight deals. Everyone else is just one-offs.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the same level of commitment.
And if you're a promoter starting a promotion in a certain area, you know all of the teams within the area.
Yes.
The MMA world is not that big. So that's another thing. Like good promoters, everybody knows who they are. Bad promoters, everybody knows who they are. And all the good coaches, same thing. You know if you can trust a coach. If a coach calls your matchmaker or vice versa, and they're like, I got a guy. You know if, as, the person doing that, if you can trust that person or not. But if, somebody from Bob's gym in their garage and you don't know them and they're like, I got a guy, he's gonna win the whole championship, probably not gonna put him on. I got a girl, she's gonna beat Ronda Rousey, wait, you just see it.
One of my early pro fights was up on an Indian reservation in Northern California, and the girl, I can't remember her name now, but the girl I fought, we're at weigh-ins and we're like standing in line to step on the scale, and she's going on and on about all the street fights she's had. This is her first MMA fight.
Jeez.
She's telling me how she's like undefeated in street fights and this and that. But I'm like, yeah, all right, that's cool. No, never been in a street fight. No.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
And then I pull up to the Indian reservation the next day, and I'm walking into the arena, and she's out there smoking a fucking cigarette.
Oh my God.
Before the fight. I was like, oh. This is gonna be over quickly.
How did that even
do?
happen? How did that
I won
person
my
end up?
ground and pound like within a minute.
That's awesome.
But I think that was one of those things where they were just trying to find somebody.
Right.
Wow,
They're
you
like,
know.
you.
Like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Beat a girl up the street last night.
Right? I beat all the bitches' ass in my neighborhood. You don't know. Everybody knows who I am.
Oh my God.
But I feel like her telling me all those stories was because she was kind of nervous and she was trying to
Like intimidate
prove-
you.
thought that was
prove
gonna
herself.
somehow-
Yeah.
Gonna somehow intimidate you.
Yeah.
Fuck your years of real training,
Of actual
and competing
training.
all over the world. I wanted a bar last night after I was drinking all my rum and coke.
I was drunk too.
Maybe she should have got drunk before she fought me. That might have been better.
Maybe.
Okay,
Maybe
so
she's
that
way.
that fight was it was in the afternoon in the summertime in California,
Oh, that sounds lovely.
and the canvas was yellow.
oh,
Oh.
And the
Oh,
first guy
sounds
that went out was a
horrifying.
teammate of mine, and ended up in a wheelchair afterwards because he burned off the bottoms of his feet.
oh,
So the rest of us had to tape our feet.
what?
Thankfully, I would never had my back on the ground because I just took her down and was on top hitting her, and then it was over. But it was hot enough that it burned off your skin. So I went out there with tape all over the bottom of my feet.
How did you
not
there was
slip
a
all
grip?
over the
Yeah,
I don't
where's the
know.
grip?
I don't know.
It didn't last long enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Didn't matter, I guess.
Damn.
Yeah.
You think that somebody
Ask
would be
some of
like, maybe we should
Put
cover
a
up
maybe
and
cover
like a
the
tent
face?
over
I don't know.
or something.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, you would think.
I don't know.
I mean,
Sometimes very small or promotions, they have no business doing.
I feel like we did.
doing it
We had the same
sometimes.
issue. We
You
did
have
doing
MMA
jiu-jitsu
is-
on the beach when in the
God.
That's
we
true.
had
It got a
mats
little
out. It
hot.
got
Yeah.
really hot.
Got a
So
little hot.
I mean that.
U of MMA is better run than a lot of smaller pro
U of
shows.
MMA is a great promotion.
Yeah.
To their credit, Turi and Jay came from the pro circuit. They worked with Elite XC and something else that I can't think of, and they are pros from beginning to end. And the U of MMA is a great show. We are gonna have one June 18th.
God,
I
feel
think
like
is our
it's been
next
forever.
show. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Come and hang out with us. Wow.
I don't know if I can talk about WoW.
Oh, then let's not.
Though I did make my pro wrestling debut a couple months ago.
Okay, well, when you can talk about it, you'll have to come back and
okay,
talk to us
all right.
about it. I'm sorry.
I think pretty soon I'll be able to talk about it,
Okay.
but not yet.
You didn't hear nothing.
teaser.
Where's the flashy thing?
You're just so excited that it's a great podcast. Wow.
I am so excited.
Wow.
People are going to be
I
like,
was
oh my
just saying,
God.
wow.
It was real. Wow, this has been amazing. Colleen Schneider has come to hang out with us. So if everybody wants to see you fight, by the way, you are the reason that I have UFC Fight Pass.
Aww.
When the first time you fought on Invicta, I was like, get Fight Pass! And I thought I was getting the trial, and I bought a year.
Oh no.
Because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm
Though
sorry.
honestly, not to like plug that, but it's a pretty worthwhile
It's
thing.
totally-
I go
I'm glad
back
I
and
do
watch footage on it all the time from old fights.
Yeah. So
need to get
you
that.
are the reason I got Fight Pass, and everybody watch her fight. Get on
May
Fight
7th,
Pass.
if you're in SoCal, you can watch it in person. OC Fairgrounds.
Yes. Where
Really?
can they get tickets?
Yeah.
CageTix, TIX.com. You can get
Awesome.
tickets. You can select my name on there too.
And you are fighting for the Invicta Bantamweight Championship.
I am. I'm headlining Invicta FC 17, fighting Tanya Evinger for the bantamweight strap.
Oh yeah. And if everybody wants to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
Colleen fights
Yay! At all the things.
On all the
with
things.
7 L's.
Colleen.
Two L's. 2 L's, 2 E's.
but only one E.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Colleen.
Colleen. Foots.
Fits.
No I.
Fits. Fits.
No one's going to know where to follow me.
I know.
It's like, what the fuck?
Colleen fights at all the things. We will add that to all of the links today. And
Yeah.
if you want to find me anywhere, I'm at donnagonzalez.com and all my things are there. Miss Bex, where
I
can
don't.
people
I don't
find
have
you?
a website, so just find me at Bex and Violence on all the things.
And Lee.
Lee Syatt, LeeSyatt.
Colleen, thank you so much for taking time out of your training and coming to hang with us. We loved having you.
My pleasure.
Come back soon.
Yay!
Oil wrestling.
Colleen fights oil wrestling. That's the next one. We're doing it.
Turkish oil wrestling. Tune
Yeah. You heard it here first.
in. We are also brought to you by Just Float in Pasadena. Get 50% off of your first float with the promo code MT50. So
Do it.
Go check it out.
Do it. We'll see you next week. Peace out, bitches. Yay.